Hi, I'm Jill Bartash. I work as a district literacy coach in RSU 10.
And I'm Sue Boyce Cormier, and I work as the Derigo GT coordinator in RSU 10. And we're going to talk today about how to use a flow chart with the Common Core standards and dealing with advanced learners. So the first thing you need to do is, obviously, you need to have a Common Core standard. So you pick your standard, and our specialty is language arts, so you pick a language arts standard that you'd like to do. And of course, the first thing you have to do is assess whether they know it or they don't know it. Classroom teachers are responsible to make sure that their kids have completed certain standards. So you will only gain a lot of respect, and it's only reasonable that you start with assessing what they already know. And of course, that can go two ways. They either have it or they don't.
And if they don't, that can go two ways too. One option is that you teach it. You teach it. And even that can go two ways, because if you're teaching it, you could teach it by itself and just do some direct instruction on the standard and then reassess, or you could combine it with other standards that you know the student also needs to learn.
Now, if they don't have it, you're not going to teach it because the teacher is going to teach it. So the way I look at it, that is game over. You're out.
All right, and if you have assessed the standard and the kid has it, then there are a bunch of options that you can do to enhance their learning. One is to leapfrog over to another standard. Because critics of the Common Core say that there's plenty there to be teaching for the next 20, 21 years of kids' lives. So if the kid knows the standard, just move on to another one. Another option is to dig a little deeper. There are a bunch of different ways to dig into standards. One is to move across the progression and get into more complicated understandings of that standard. Or another is to be creative in how you look at it and take that same standard, but think about the way that the kids present and work with it and have their depth of knowledge be increased.
A third option is to combine what you're doing with another subject area. I like the coloring in part. There we go. So you can either combine it and do it with another one, or you could just skip to a history or a math. Or a science standard. It might fit nicely with your language arts standard, or it might stand alone, and that's the standard you work on during that time. The fourth one is the one I enjoy the most myself, and that's working with some of those social emotional goals that you've always wanted to have time to work with. And a great way to do that is through bibliotherapy, where maybe you do a really great book that's covering this standard, and maybe it also covers some of those things that your kids are struggling with, like their personal identity. Sometimes we're happy, sometimes we're not. So these are all things that could be explored.
And of course, if you started with a standard, you assessed to see if they got it, you taught it in any multiple number of ways, the last part is to make sure you reassess. We won't know the degree to which the kids have learned what we've taught them unless we finally close out the work with assessment.
And now we're going to give you some examples. him or her. And
Mrs. Schofield, would you please call the office?
Oh my god, if that happens in the middle of the
Bloopers!
Yeah, I would do.